We begin in South Africa, looking at the Sowetan on the front page of the Sowetan this morning. The big story says, "You damaged our family." And we're wondering who said this. It says it's from the witness box. Zandile Kumalu confronts men on trial for killing Senzo Meyiwa, points out two of them as the assailants who entered her home. Accused giggle and shake their heads as she details how she heard 3 gunshots that night. There are more details on that story on page 2. We also have here on the front page why Lekwa Mayor was targeted on page 3. It was a failed hit. Freddie Gwala, real Pansula for life on page 12. 3-way tug for player of the year. Saleng up against Dow's Mokwena and Williams on page 31. And we have here, be the change you want to see. We can see flare-off residents in Rutherford on the West Rand took to the main reef road yesterday to protest against lack of service delivery and illegal mining in the area. And the last story on the front page of the Sowetan, which is something we had alluded to earlier on in the show. Prepare for the worst, ESCOM says. Julius Malema had, of course, shared intel that they are to be preparing for something that is like a total grid shutdown in an interview he granted recently. And he's asked the people of South Africa to brace up. He's also asked that they go to old or the former ESCOM leaders and see who can help them get out of the situation. But that's what we can take. Let's still stay within the southern African part of the continent and see what the Namibian is saying.
All right, and in the Namibian this morning, sad story there, saying we received back a skeleton without flesh, and that is from, of course, the investigation into the death of Wassafall, a lady who was killed in 2020. I'm just reading more on that story now. I think it was 2 days ago that the verdict was given, not guilty. It says that the accused, Azan Madisia, and her brother, Stephen Mulundu, were found not guilty of murdering the 21-year-old Shannon Wassafall at Walvis Bay in April 2020. They were, of course, acquitted in the Windhoek High Court 2 days ago. Really interesting, details on that story. But of course, still on the Namibian newspapers this morning, says, crocodile victim who lost leg says he would rather be dead.
It must be tough.
Yeah,
I hope he's able to get beyond the therapy, really, to be able to get through this.
I don't know what leg exactly. Looks like his right leg, because men would always argue, if they lose their other leg, that they would rather die.
Wow.
The other leg. All right, still on the Namibian this morning. 6 shortlisted for GIPF chief executive job. 12-month extension suggested for Nuyoma. And finally, this morning, congratulations to all our graduates, and that is from the IUM. I think those are the stories that we can share on the Namibian this morning. Let's move now to Nigeria.
All right, here in the West, we see the big story on the Nigerian Tribune says, EFCC boss, Zamfara governor exchanged words over alleged 70 billion naira fraud. Expose me if you have any proof of fraud, Bawa says. Bawa must quit now. Face pro panel over 150 CSOs tell federal government. El Rufai revokes CFO of Markafi's company's landed properties on page 2. Court remands Sheung Kuti for additional 4 days. Did you see the update in the story? How the lawyers have said that they allegedly, took him to a magistrate court without informing his lawyers and got an extension to basically try an extension of his detention period in prison. And what that says, what they have inferred is that this is again another proof that this is targeted, this is deliberate, and an attempt to frustrate his tour plans. I hear he's meant to go on tour.
On tour on the 20th.
Yeah, so this is basically meant to frustrate his tour plans. Still on the front page, on page 6, NNPC clears 3.8 billion naira joint venture. I beg your pardon. NNPC clears $3.8 billion joint venture cash call indebtedness to grow crude oil productions to 1.8 MPSPD in July. And we have here attack on U.S. officials in Anambra, 7 confirmed killed, 2 missing as police begin search on page 25. 2 suspects have been arrested. Yet again, just like Osage says, how many people have been arrested in the other killings? Now, these are very important. This is not to in any way downplay the tragedy that has occurred in Anambra State, but also not to downplay the tragedy that has occurred in Jos as well. Each one deserves as much attention, Speakership race, G7 aspirants vow to fight on. One person can't run Nigeria. Choose leadership for members elect, says Wase on page 2. 200 billion naira already spent on preparations for 2023 census, says the NPC. They already spent 200 billion naira for census in Saudi.
That's pretty interesting.
I thought Nigerians had said we don't want to be counted. They should. I mean, that's not to say that we don't see the importance of the census, because this just again reveals that there's a breach of trust between the presidency and the governed. Osun Labour Movement kicks against proposed staff audits. Direct entry UTME candidates now to write same exams. JAMB remits 2 billion naira into federal government accounts. See what we're talking about the other day. They've remitted 2 billion naira into federal government accounts. And I remember when we had this conversation, your response was, is their job function to be remitting money to this federal government account, or to...
It shouldn't make the news. I mean, it's because that's not your function, you know. So we shouldn't be hearing that you've remitted money. You should remit money.
Yeah.
You know, it shouldn't be part of the news.
So
Nobody should applaud you.
Maybe they're cutting out leakage, you know, in different parts of the JAMB, UTME, or the JAMB purse. But the thing is, are you doing what you're supposed to do? Instead of students sleeping outside to make applications. Anyway, Buhari to confer GCFR, GCON titles on Tinubu and Shetima on the 25th of May. Federal government rolls out inauguration program. And finally, the final part, or maybe not, of the Buhari presidency, a review part 3. Yesterday was part 2 on the papers. On page 13. You know why I'm laughing, because of what she said.
Yeah,
pages 13 to 19, and that's all that we can take this morning on the Nigerian Tribune.
All right, and you know, I think the NPC story is just, you know, once again, clear evidence of how, you know, we do not punish bad behavior, you know, and there's no actual, you know, auditing of funds. You know, Nigeria has a spending problem, not a revenue problem, and corruption, you know, of course, still runs wild in the country, because, you know, for you to be bold enough to come and tell Nigerians that you spent 200 billion naira on a census that the government had not given you a go-ahead to conduct. All right. On the Daily Trust this morning, ahead of inauguration, Naira falls to 760 naira to the dollar. National Assembly leadership contenders woo lawmakers with foreign currency. Okay. Demand went up this week, BDC operators say. I want to read that again, you know, so we're clear exactly what we're saying here. That National Assembly leadership contenders woo lawmakers, their fellow lawmakers, with foreign currency.
Yeah.
One more time. That the people who are vying for the president and deputy president of National Assembly in both Senate and House of Reps are wooing their fellow National Assembly members with foreign currency.
Let's call it what it is. They are bribing.
But it is how we can boldly put this on the newspaper. I mean, how it is common knowledge, you know, so it can make the front page of the news. Right? I mean, according to the Daily Trust, it is common knowledge that there will be bribery. Because when you say woo, it makes it sound a little less than what it is.
Yeah, it is bribery. Maybe I want to believe that this is maybe some investigation of some sort that is being brought to light. Not like people don't know that things like this occur.
So Daily Trust, Port Harcourt refinery ready before year end. Worry Kaduna 2024, says Kiari.
Amen.
Direct entry candidates now to write UTME, says JAMB. And also this morning on Daily Trust, we don't know Chibok girls' whereabouts, says the military. Buhari to confer GCFR, GCON on Tinubu Shetima on Thursday. And also, EFCC probes Zamfara governor over 70 billion naira fraud.
Have you taken the story on the top right, the APC one?
APC NWC sets aside Goja's expulsion, says ex-governor remains bona fide member.
Okay.
And also final question. Security agents dodging bandits, mocking victims, says Sultan. Good morning, Nigeria. These are the stories that we can share on the Daily Trust this morning. We, of course, I hope you enjoyed these stories, but remember that you could always tweet at us and share your views with us on any of these stories that we shared with you. If you have comments, tweet at News Central TV and let us know your thoughts. We'll be eager to share them on television.